Welcome to Bitcoin Amsterdam 2024. The Amsterdam interviews are powered by Bit50, and we're here with Hannah Rosenberg from the LightningLabs.
Yeah.
We met each other yesterday at an Amsterdam event, and that was fun, right?
That was fun. I only got to stay for like an hour and a half, but I enjoyed my
Doesn't
hour
matter.
and a half.
Yeah, and you were looking for the incentive to run Noster relays, and why is it? Yeah,
because
does it hold?
I really want Noster to work. Like, I really want us to have decentralized social media. Like, I really want to make this happen, but being someone that works in Lightning, I think a lot about economic incentives and incentive engineering and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't understand how Noster gets the incentives right. So I showed up, like, I'm just going to bother everyone about this question and see if I can get some good answers. And that one panel that I did manage to catch, I thought there were some pretty fair responses to it there. So.
Okay,
cool.
So to be continued.
And right after that, you guys had a meeting at the Bitonic, right? The BitDev.
I had to leave for a meeting, so I had to duck out early, and then we had BitDevs.
And that was also cool?
That was very entertaining.
Awesome. And it was very busy, right? I heard there was 70 people or
like
80 people or something.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
packed. It was fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, let's start with LightningLabs. You're working at LightningLabs. We all know LightningLabs, obviously. I think all our audience know LightningLabs.
Yeah, because of the Rings of Fire.
Rings of Fire, and we all
was building nodes.
We all run nodes, so we're fine. But we had El Mouton in the past. We had Alex Borsworth. What is your role at LightningLabs?
I am a developer advocate, which basically means if someone's out there, if you're trying to build something using some bit of software created by LightningLabs, it's my job to help you, right? So I make a lot of tutorials, I do a lot of workshops, that sort of stuff, and people can please ask me questions, right? If you're, working with any of, LND, Taproot assets, Lightning Node Connect, L402s, whatever it is. Like,
but you're coding yourself too?
Oh, sorry. No. I was thinking that's why I know you, perhaps, because I've seen those videos.
Those tutorial videos and demo videos. Yeah.
That was
that's you. But you're coding yourself too?
I am a developer, but that's not what I'm doing at LightningLabs. I mean, I play with the code. I test it, right? I report issues, right?
Okay. And have you worked on the protocol in the past?
I've always been an application developer.
Okay, cool.
So I have no commits in any protocol repos.
No, but it's very rare to speak to a woman in the first place, but women who also knows how to code. Yeah. I mean, we're lucky today, Edward.
I don't know, but we had a lot of them in the podcast. Also, Nifty and
sure.
Yeah. And there's been so many more in the space, and
we need more, right?
That's a massive topic, which we don't have time to dive into today, but I think that's largely a cultural thing which is changing, and I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
absolutely. Can you explain perhaps some of the most exciting technological advancements that have recently been developed at LightningLabs? What is the most important thing?
Well, I'm very fixated on Taproot assets at the moment. So we just had a couple months ago, just before the Nashville conference, we released the Lightning version of Taproot assets. You can now play with that on the Lightning Network, and that's been my fixation. Edge nodes, the whole RFQ process. We could go way down that rabbit hole, but that's been my obsession lately. Yes.
And do you also see a lot of people then asking you questions about it? I mean, do you see a spike in users that are wanting to experiment
with? We've been very busy.
Okay, cool.
With answering questions and supporting people that are making use of it. Yeah.
And how do you see the implementation of multi-asset Lightning impacting the current and future state of the Lightning Network?
I love to ponder this, right? Because I don't have a great answer on this exact thing is going to happen, but I'm just so excited to have a front row seat to this show and see how this plays out.
Of course.
And obviously we can talk about stable coins. I think that's a huge one. And if you like, I can go on my personal yay Taproot assets rant.
The mic is yours.
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of that particular use case of bringing stable coins to the Bitcoin network for some specific reasons. Right? I fell in love with Bitcoin back in 2012, like in the middle of 2012, and being a tech nerd and an econ nerd, was super duper excited about Bitcoin as money, right? So I've spent, 12 years since then being like, how do we get adoption of this as money, right? It's my personal motivation here, right? And this stuff, we can look at it and be like, this is technologically so much better. I know how Visa works, and like, my gosh, Lightning's so much better. Like, all this stuff is so much better, right? But for so many people that you talk to, for all of us, here in Amsterdam or in the States where I'm from, primary use case is like investment. Investment's great, fabulous, go for it. But I really care about people using it. And for a lot of the people that you want to be using it, they have a really hard time with that volatility. Like, I can afford to open a wallet and be like, wow, I lost 20% today. Whew. Like, some people, like, you're not buying groceries tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, so that volatility, I think, has been a big barrier to adoption in a lot of places. And I think there are a lot of people in the world that really have an immediate need for better money. If you look at the use of stable coins, I think that's definitely reflected there. And to have better money that you can offer someone that's stable, that's on Bitcoin. It's not on some other network, that's on Bitcoin. And I often think a lot about, like, people get stuck on that unit of account. Oh, someone's not using Bitcoin, they're using this other thing, which is fiat denominated, and we don't like that, boo, But if you think about it, they're not intending perhaps to adopt the Bitcoin unit of account, but they will wind up adopting Bitcoin infrastructure. And I think that is really, really interesting.
But here in Holland, in the community, there's an argument that people give, like, well, then you just replace the sets you spend, but that doesn't make sense in a developing a marketplace for a country when Bitcoin is your primary medium of exchange, right? I mean, then how do you?
For a lot of people, like, they're not even thinking about, medium of exchange, unit of account. They don't care. They're like, how do I keep my money from disappearing overnight due to monetary issues?
And then volatility, you can't use volatility in it.
It's just too big of a gamble for someone that doesn't have disposable income. It's just not, it's much better when you have a stable unit of account on a better network, a decentralized, censorship-resistant network.
What are some of the most promising use cases for Taproot assets that you've seen or foreseen in the near future? And how do you envision it being used in various industries, such as, that's what I'm looking for, such as gaming, finance, or supply chain management, perhaps?
Well, I just gave you my whole rant on my favorite Taproot assets use case. So we covered that.
Let's talk about the others.
Well, the emerging markets and developing countries, that's really a huge win. It is.
Personally, for me, that's my personal motivation. I want better money, and I want real utility for real people, right? So that's what motivates me. Now, the other things are also very interesting just from a tech nerd perspective, right? I mean, you talked about, like, supply chain stuff. You remember back in, like, 2016, 17, 18, this was like all the rage. Supply chain's going to be on blockchain. We're going to do this. And you look at it, it's not efficient, right? Now, from a technical perspective, one of the things that I really like about Taproot assets is that it makes really good use of blockchain space. Like, other things are going on, like ordinals and, like, okay, inscriptions are technically interesting. I enjoy that, but it's like, it's not an elegant way to make use of blockchain space. I think Taproot Assets really does that well. So you can embed something in just a normal Taproot transaction. So it's a very efficient use of space. And then there's all kinds of use cases that I know we'll see about that. Supply chain, I don't know, maybe, but
bananas on the blockchain.
Bananas on the blockchain, and that's got. Let's not dive into that one. But, anything that you want to represent digitally, right, and you want to represent in sort of a token or an asset, Taproot Assets is, I think, a very elegant, sophisticated way to do that. So that's interesting. But in gaming, I think almost certainly we'll see, especially if you can do tokens, it's something you can own, but then you can exchange fastly and cheaply on the Lightning Network. I mean, I would be shocked if we didn't wind up seeing all kinds of gaming use cases on this too.
Skins, all kind of perks you could buy.
My kids are obsessed with Roblox. You know what that is? And they're always like building these amazing things in Roblox games and then just destroying them. I'm like, don't do that. Like, sell that to someone, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I wish they could own that and then sell it, and then I wouldn't have to buy so many Robux to fund their games, you know?
Yeah,
So I think definitely we'll wind up seeing something like that too.
Yeah.
And River always publishes a report about the current state of the Lightning Network. We had Sam Wouters here last year too. In 2023, it highlighted the significant growth in Lightning transactions and volume. What factors do you believe are driving growth in this year, and how do you see it evolving in the near future? What are you hoping for?
I like spent 12 years pondering this, and I could probably write a whole book on it, right? But like, so I think when you talk about like who's adopting it and why, like you could spend so much time on that. But I think I think of it sort of two distinct groups, right? I think in the States, here in Western Europe, and that sort of this stuff, I think that Lightning will get adopted on the back end of all kinds of interesting applications, right? Gaming applications, incentive structures built into, fitness apps, like whatever it is.
Gambling.
I think, AI bots talking to each other and paying each other. Like, I think in that segment of the world, it gets adopted on the back end, and we see a lot of that happening. And then, to go back to my taproot assets rant, I think there's a whole nother segment of the world that's just like, help, my money's disappearing in my bank account, right? And that's a whole nother use case.
Yeah.
We see a lot of that too.
What was also in the report is that despite of the plateau in node count, channels and capacity, the report indicates accelerating user adoption. And from your experience in the Lightning space, what do you think are the main reasons behind this trend?
Yeah, first let's talk about that idea that there's, we only have like the number of nodes haven't accelerated that much, or like the amount of
capacity.
Bitcoin hasn't accelerated that much.
They, by the way, they also agree that it's hard to really get the numbers.
Very hard,
Absolutely.
and I want to mention two things on this point. The first is that a lot of times, like what you're looking at, when you look at the network graph and see capacity in nodes, you're looking at public nodes and public
nodes.
channels. And a lot of times there are a lot of wallets and wallet providers where it could be non-custodial, but if I download it and then open a channel, I'm probably opening an unannounced channel to a central node for a particular wallet, right? That sort of structure is common. And so if I went and did that, and you could have all of us, this whole room full of people that suddenly onboarded onto Lightning, and that probably wouldn't show up in those numbers because of that structure. The second thing is that it doesn't really matter so much exactly the nodes or the amount of Bitcoin that's on the network currently. What matters much more is the velocity of that money that's on there.
That's right.
And that, again, talking about your point, like it's really hard to get
measure.
because it's private, which is a good thing, but also a pain in the butt. But the anecdotal stuff that you get, information that you get from talking to businesses in the space is that velocity is increasing.
Yeah, but it's also like for me as a user, I can also open a big private channel to a big node, and I can do a ton of transactions, and it's hidden for the public.
Know about it.
Exactly.
So pluses and minuses to that.
Yeah. Well, Hannah, thanks for your time. I'm curious because we're now at Bitcoin 2024. What are you personally hoping to get out of this conference?
Wow. I would like to...
Apart from seeing the beautiful city of Amsterdam,
seeing the
obviously.
beautiful city of Amsterdam, having wine with my friends is high on the list. Besides that, I would really love to talk to people who are building in this space. That's the mission. That's the goal. I would, if you're doing that, please talk to me. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping to get out of it.
Cool. Well,
a lot of people are going to the South African barbecue tonight and tomorrow night. So we had a couple of developers yesterday also in. So it's nice to be able to
connect.
Yeah,
That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks
Thank you
again,
very much.
Hannah.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Good luck.